you going this year? MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, good. It's gonna be great. Okay, MashaAllah. Maybe, maybe. I always get asked, but I just haven't gone for like 2, 3 years now. Since COVID, I haven't gone. Yeah, that was supposed to be. There was some internal issues at ICI. Alhamdulillah. All right, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. Let's get started. Alhamdulillah, welcome to our Hajj seminar or workshop, we can call it. Call it Everything You Need to Know. So basically, we're going to try to cover all the details of Hajj that somebody needs to know if they're going to be performing Hajj, or if they really want to understand all the little details that happen in Hajj. Now, the reason why I'm going to tell you a lot of details is because I'll tell you the first time I performed Hajj was in 2005. And I remember I actually read a book in advance. I read a book of fiqh. And surprisingly, the author who translated the book ended up in my group, actually. It was a book called Reliance of the Traveler in Fiqh al-Shafi'i, madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i. And I went through a lot of these details about Hajj, but when you get there, it's very different. There's a lot of practical things, issues that come up, what you see, what you experience. And I really thought that I was not fully prepared for the journey. And it's really nice to know I'm one of those people who kind of researches things before I go on a vacation or to a location or an area. I want to kind of have an understanding of what I'm getting into, what's going to happen, kind of helps you to understand what to expect. So then when I went to Hajj again, I've been to Umrah many times, but when I went for Hajj again, a few years later, I said, I've already done Hajj. I already know what's going on. I know what to expect and everything. But then similar issues came up. So you know what? You don't always remember the rules. You don't remember all the details. You don't remember the answers to all the questions. Locations have changed. So many things that need to be updated. And Hajj, you need to keep a very calm mindset. You need to have patience. And one of the things of helping you to have patience is to have the right mindset, because when you know what to expect and your expectations are correct, it helps you to process that. If you have the wrong expectations anywhere in life, it's going to make your life very difficult. If you have very high expectations and then things don't go the way that you expected them to be, it's going to be a problem. If you have very low expectations and then things are better than that, you're in good shape. Most Americans have very high expectations of wherever they go. And then when it doesn't meet the standard, why is this happening? And why is the ummah like this? And why can't somebody do this? So it is very important to have the right expectations, the right understanding, and you don't want to be dependent, because one of the things that happens at Hajj, it's so crowded that if you get separated from your group or from your group leader, if you're so dependent on that person to tell you everything to do, and now you're on your own, you don't know what to do, your entire journey gets messed up. So that's why I'm going to be trying to cover a lot of details in this seminar or this little workshop. And I'm going to be answering some of the most frequently asked questions that people generally have for Hajj. Okay, so before we begin, just a real quick few questions. How many of you have been for Hajj before? Few of you, okay. How many of you are going for Hajj this year? Okay, a few of you are going for Hajj this year again, okay. And how many of you registered for the seminar? Okay. How many of you came last night for the shorter session? Okay, so only a few of you. Good, okay. So I can overlap some of the material. It's going to be fine. Okay, let's begin. So what is Hajj? Hajj is a journey to Mecca. The word Hajj means to intend, to go somewhere. And it's a journey where we go to Mecca, we visit Mecca. And every Muslim needs to go at least once in their lifetime. And the reason why we go is we're trying to commemorate the spirit of Prophet Ibrahim and his family, because the Kaaba was built by Prophet Ibrahim and his son. And the Prophet Muhammad, and he instituted and started the Hajj pilgrimage. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, told us that he made a lot of the aspects and parts of Hajj to be stuff that Ibrahim and his family were doing. So we're going to see a little bit of that. So Hajj entails visiting Mecca and some other nearby regions in that area, which we're going to talk about. So it's not only visiting Mecca. Hajj only occurs between the 8th to the 12th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the last month in the Islamic calendar, the 12th month. Ramadan is the 9th month, Dhul Hijjah is the last month, and it's starting in a few days. There's usually about 4 to 5 or 3 to 5 million people that attend Hajj, and this is one of the largest annual gatherings of people in one location in the entire world. Umrah is a short Hajj, and you go and you visit the Kaaba. You don't need to go to any of the other locations. Umrah can take just a few hours, and Hajj takes how many days? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 5 days, optional 6 day. We'll see that. And Umrah can be done any time of the year. How many of you have been for Umrah? A lot more people have been for Umrah. Okay. And during Hajj, most people will also perform Umrah. So it's important to know that when you go for Hajj, you're going to be doing, usually, you're going to do Hajj and Umrah, both together, whether you've been for Umrah before or whether you've never been before. So we're going to see how that works. So this is Mecca and Medina. This is an old map of Arabia. This is what Mecca used to look like around 1850. You can see what the Kaaba in the middle, and surrounding it is a little building, and that building is known as Al-Masjid. This whole area now is known as Al-Masjid Al-Haram. Right, now the first time I went in my life, I saw the sign. It said Al-Masjid Al-Haram. I'm like, what? It's the Haram Masjid? Like, astaghfirullah, like how can that be? Haram also means, what's the other meaning for haram? Sacred. So it means the sacred mosque. Haram for food and things like that. You say, this is haram, you can't do that. Meaning it's forbidden. It's not the forbidden mosque. It's the sacred mosque. So this is known as Al-Masjid Al-Haram or Al-Haram for short. So when you say we're going to the Kaaba, one of the things when you see people talking and they're saying to each other, well, where are you going? You say, I'm going to the masjid, or I'm going to the haram, or I'm going to Al-Masjid Al-Haram. They don't usually say, I'm going to the Kaaba. Because you don't always just go for the Kaaba, just to, like, you know, you're going to see whether you're making tawaf or not. But you go for prayers. So this is the actual masjid. Anything around the Kaaba where people are praying is known as the sacred mosque, the Masjid Al-Haram. This is what it used to look like. And then it developed. This is about 2015. And then last night I showed some updated pictures. It's expanded even more. So Mecca was founded by Hajar, the wife of Prophet Ibrahim. And he left. Prophet Ibrahim was instructed by Allah to leave his wife there and his son Ismail there. And the city of Mecca was founded after the well of Zamzam came up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So Ibrahim was instructed to leave his family. He came back, he built the Kaaba, and Hajj was instituted, and they began calling people. Anyone who wants to pray to one God should come to this place and pray over here. Mecca is also special because it has the Kaaba, number one. And number two, historically, 13 years of the Quran were revealed in the city of Mecca. And 10 years of the Quran were revealed in Medina. So 23 years, the Quran was revealed to the Prophet, peace be upon him. The virtues of Hajj. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, whoever performs Hajj, meaning sincerely, for Allah and avoids obscenity and avoids sins will return from the journey like the day his mother gave birth to him. Meaning he will return back sinless. This includes major and minor sins. So there's a massive reward and a massive cleansing if your Hajj is accepted. Right? So this is not like a free get out of Jahannam ticket. Automatically you go back and everything's clean, you start sinning again or something like that. But you should have the right mentality that you can earn so much reward and have your sins forgiven by performing Hajj. But it's also an obligation. It's an obligation that everyone has to perform at least once in their life. So it's conditional. Okay? It's not a get out of hell free ticket. You have to avoid getting into arguments. You have to avoid doing bad things. You have to make sure that your Hajj is sincere and not just a tourist vacation and you went for shopping or something like that. The Prophet also said, it might be that a person who fasts gains nothing from it except hunger. He's talking about Ramadan. Someone may be fasting in Ramadan and they get nothing but hunger. A person who prays gains nothing from it except fatigue. So there may be some people who fall in a similar category. They go for Hajj and they gain nothing except for fatigue and trinkets that they bought to bring back. So we should take our Hajj very seriously and make sure that we go with the right mentality and we go with proper sincerity and we go with proper knowledge so that we're not nullifying or invalidating any aspects of our Hajj. So when you go for Hajj, one of the first things you need to do is you need to choose one type. What type of Hajj are you going to perform? There are 3 types. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, it is fine to perform Hajj and Umrah together. It is fine to perform Hajj alone, or it is fine to perform Umrah. And he meant Umrah followed by Hajj afterwards. It's basically merging. So you're going to pick one style. One of them is called the merging Umrah into Hajj that he mentioned as 2 separate actions, and this is known as tamattu'. And tamattu' means enjoyment. So what's going to happen, what makes this different, this is the easier one. That's why it's called the enjoyable Hajj, because it's easier and it's the most common one that most people will perform. And what differentiates this one is that you don't need to be in your ihram clothing for as long as the other ones. So it makes your life a little bit easier. The second one is combining Umrah and Hajj together as one action. This is known as Qiran. And what's going to happen is you're going to keep your ihram on. So if you arrive 1 week early or 2 weeks early into Mecca, you're going to do Umrah, but you're going to stay in ihram clothing, no perfume, no deodorant. You can shower, but like you will see that. But you can't change. You can't wear like regular clothes. You can't wear a shirt or something like that. You're going to be wearing sandals all until Hajj starts, plus another 5 days. So you're going to be in ihram for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. So this is the more difficult one. But according to several scholars, they say this is the more rewarding one because it's also challenging, it's difficult. So this is the second option. I don't recommend that if it's your first Hajj. And the third one is to do Hajj only, which is called Ifrat. And this is another way to perform Hajj. Most people are going to choose Tamattu'. The easiest one, the most common one, where you get Hajj and Umrah, but you get to change your clothes in between. When you arrive for Hajj, your Hajj actually begins before you enter into Mecca. So what's going to happen is that there are these locations. These are known as the miqat. Miqat is like a boundary location that was specified by the Prophet ﷺ. He specified 4 of them. The 5th one was added later. But anyways, there are 5 locations. And one is Dhul Hulayfa, Al-Juhfa, Zatu Arq, Qarn al-Manazil, and Yalamlam. These are places where anyone who's going for Hajj, when you reach this location, you need to start your Hajj by getting into a state of ihram. I'm going to say this a few times. You're going to get into the state of ihram and you're going to wear your ihram clothing because they're not the same thing. So if you are flying into Medina first, who's flying into Medina first? Okay, so if you're flying into Medina first, what's going to happen is you're going to either take a train or a bus going to Makkah. Who's taking a train? Taking the train? Okay, good. So you're going to you're gonna be going, because Medina's north, so you're gonna be going through Dhul Hulayfa. You need to make sure that before you get on the train, or maybe on the train, but not very long, probably before you get on the train, you need to have your clothes ready, you need to trim your nails, you need to have everything ready when you get on that train, because once you cross the Dhul Hulayfa boundary, you are going to start your Hajj from that point. You need to have the right clothing, you need to say Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, and you need to do all of those things. How many of you are flying into Jeddah? A few of you are flying into Jeddah. So you're flying into Jeddah, where are you stopping? Dubai. Where are you stopping? Dubai. Anyone else? Dubai as well? Everyone's doing Dubai. Okay. So what you're probably going to do is, because Dubai is really close, you're going to assume your ihram from the airport in Dubai, right? Or you could potentially do it on the airplane and start your intention on the airplane. But the point is this: you're going to start your Hajj at the location, either whether you're in the airplane or on the train, or you're allowed to start it before, but you cannot start it after you cross one of these boundaries. If you cross this boundary and you're not ready to go and you're in a state of ihram, it's a problem. If you did it on purpose, it's sinful and you got to offer a penalty. And if you didn't do it intentionally, somehow you slept or whatever, you still got to offer a penalty. So you want to make sure that you have this information down and you're ready to go. So Hajj must begin at these locations or before it. If you cross it, you're going to have to return back or give a penalty. Okay? And what's going to happen? Imagine if you cross it. You're going to be like, what are you going to do? Tell the airplane, tell the pilot, hey, you know what? I took a nap. Can you please just turn around and just fly back around over the meal? It's not going to happen. You're going to tell them to turn around the train? It's not going to happen. So you need to make sure you have this down. So for those of you in Medina, those of you who are going to Medina first, once you leave Medina, very shortly after you leave Medina, you're going to reach Dhul Hulayfa. And this is the masjid over there. The name got renamed, the place got renamed Abyar Ali, but this is the place. If you look closely, this is a masjid. It's got a minaret. It's got a masjid over here. Around here, all of these things are like bathrooms and showers. They probably upgraded. Maybe this is an old picture, but this is a really nice masjid though. Beautiful masjid. They have lots of showers and lots of bathrooms. Because one of the things people are going to be doing here is they're going to be changing into their ihram clothing. They're going to take a shower. You could potentially, if you wanted to, from your hotel in Medina, you could wear all your clothing and get ready and everything like that. But oh yeah, you're going by train, so you're not going to stop here. If you're going by bus, you would stop here. Going by train, you're probably not going to be stopping here. Your train's going to be direct, so you will be doing all of your stuff from your hotel room. But if you're going by bus or you're going by car, you would stop at this location, and this is the location where the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba used to stop by and get their clothing and get ready for starting Hajj. So what does it mean to be in the state of ihram? This is where your Hajj begins, or your Umrah begins. You have to be in a state of ihram. So state of ihram has an internal aspect and an external aspect. The internal aspect is your state of mind and your intention that you are now beginning your Hajj. I want you to think about prayer, right? When you start your prayer, you have an internal state of mind. You say Allahu Akbar, you raise your hands, right, and you fold them, and now you're in a state of prayer. Internally, you're thinking, I'm in a state of salah now. Externally, I'm not allowed to talk. I'm not allowed to move my chest away from the qibla. I need to be facing forward. I need to be doing the things I'm not supposed to do certain things when I'm in the state of prayer. So there's an internal and there's an external aspect of being in the state of ihram. Also kind of like wudu, right? There's a state. You're gonna wash yourself, and then you make sure you don't pass gas and break your wudu or something like that. So ihram, you're going to wear a special type of clothing. For women, it's more flexible. For men, they have to wear a certain type of clothing. And you're not going to cut your nails. You're not going to cut your hair. You're not going to put on any perfume. So you have some restrictions when you're in that state of ihram that you cannot be doing. So before you, I'm not going to say before you put on your ihram, because remember, ihram is not clothing, it's a state. Before you enter into the state of ihram, it's highly recommended to do the following things. First thing you're going to do is you're going to trim your nails, which means that you should bring some nail clippers with you. And whether in the Dubai airport, in the shower bathroom area, whatever it is, or in your hotel in Medina, or if you're going by car, Dhul Hulayfa Masjid, you're going to take out your nail clippers and you're going to trim your nails, fingernails and toenails. Then it's recommended to shave or trim your underarm hair, pubic hair, your mustache for men, etc. It's recommended, highly recommended, to make ghusl, to take a bath. And if you can't, or if you don't really want to, you can at least make wudu. If you say, like, these showers, the shower's been used by 75,000 people in the past 4 hours, probably the case. So I'd rather just make wudu. Okay, it's fine. They're pretty clean though. And then you apply perfume, or you can apply deodorant to your body, not to your clothing, but to your body. You do that before. This is all recommended, actually. So once you're in ihram, you're not allowed to wear perfume anymore. So what you do is, if you put the perfume or deodorant on your clothing, then it'll just keep remaining, and it's gonna, last for a very long time. That's like kind of like a trick. You're not supposed to wear perfume, but you put it all over your clothing. So you're smelling for like the next, 48 hours. That defeats the purpose. But if you put it on your body, it at least eliminates some of the body odor for a period of time and stuff like that. So you're allowed to do that, and it's recommended that you do that before you start your ihram. And then you're going to pray 2 rakahs. Or you can perform, 2 rakahs or any other prayer that you're already performing. Like, let's say you arrive at Zohar time, you're already praying Zohar anyways, you go ahead and perform that prayer. If you're not performing another prayer, you're going to pray 2 rakahs, and then it's recommended to recite Surah Al-Kafirun and what's Surah 112? Ikhlas, good. Surah Al-Ikhlas in the first rakah and in the second rakah before you assume and start the state of ihram. And you're going to wear your clothing as well. So you're going to have special clothing. This clothing signifies simplicity and humility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're going to wear this in a convenient location, either at the miqat or before the miqat, Dubai airport, your hotel in Medina, whatever it may be. So men, requirements for men. They're going to wear 2 unstitched sheets, kind of look like towels. So I have a picture coming up, but there's going to be one for the upper part of the body and one for the lower part of the body. It is recommended for them to wear white. Almost nobody wears non-white, so you shouldn't be doing that. But if there was emergency, so for some reason it got destroyed and you had nothing else to wear, you can technically wear some other color, but it should be white. Men are going to wear sandals or slippers that do not cover most of their foot. And this is among the most common questions. I always get text messages. Can you analyze this sandal? Here's a picture of it. This is what it looks like. Does this cover enough? Does it cover too much? This and that. I'm sitting there doing like sandal analysis while people are on Hajj. Happens all the time. Get messages every single day. What about this type of sandal? What about this type of thing where it covers the back part but doesn't cover this? So here's simple rule. If you think about your foot, okay, when you're stepping on the sandal, the bottom part of your foot is obviously going to be covered because that's the part of the sandal that you're stepping on. The top part, okay, if you imagine what a sandal is, the majority of the top part of your foot should be uncovered. Now you got these different type of sandals. You got the flip-flop sandals, and then you got, I don't know, I'm old now, Birkenstock sandals with like the straps. Then you got the ones with the straps that go around the back. Then you got the ones that like kind of cover the back of the heel. And you got all these different type of sandals. The general rule is that most of your upper foot should be exposed, especially the most important parts. So if you got some kind of weird sandal that it opens half of the top part right here, but then it's got this thing which covers your entire ankles or something like that, too much covering, because your ankles are core part of your foot. It's supposed to be open and exposed. So as long as if you got like a little strap coming around the back, another strap here, like another strap here, and adds like some sort of super support for you so you can jog in those sandals or whatever it is, it's fine. But if it's one of those sandals that's covering more than half or getting close to, like, it's probably, to be on the safe side, it should not cover more than 1/4 of your top of your foot that's open. All the other straps or whatever is there, as long as the majority, let's say 75%, minimum 50% is uncovered, it's fine. If it's less than that, it's almost like a shoe and you're not allowed to wear that. Okay? So that is for men, the sandals and slippers need to be covered. So the minimal is the medial cuneiform bones and the ankles need to be exposed, and most of the top of the upper foot. You're also not allowed to cover your face, your hands, or your head. This is for men. So you don't, it's pretty simple. That's straightforward. People are going to ask what about a face mask? So face mask is not necessarily considered to be clothing, but some scholars say it's recommended to give a charity. We're going to talk about a small penalty of charity, feeding 6 meals to poor people as a compensation if you're going to wear a face mask. It's a recommendation, it's not a requirement. You don't cover your hands you don't cover. Men are not allowed to cover their head with anything. You're not supposed to wear a baseball cap. You're not supposed to wear a kufi. You cannot wear a turban. You cannot wear anything. So these are the rules of ihram clothing for men. For women, they're allowed to wear stitched garments. Um, why? So let me explain what a stitched garment means. So men are not allowed to wear stitched garments. A stitched garment means a garment that is stitched, closed in a way that the clothing is going to wrap around one of your limbs, right? So if you look at this sleeve could not exist if it wasn't sewed shut. So you wrap it around and you sew it shut. It couldn't possibly stay in place if it wasn't sewn. Even in the ihram clothing garments, of course, there's stitches. There's stitching that takes place. But the stitching, that's why when you say don't wear stitched garments, people get confused. But it's stitches. Yes, it's not supposed to be stitched closed so that it's wrapping around your body. So if you go, you wrap your ihram around your body, this ihram clothing around your body, and then you put a bunch of stitches to stitch it closed so that it doesn't fall off, it defeats the purpose. Can you put like a safety pin or two or something like that? Yes, that's very basic and simple. You're not stitching it closed. But if you're to the point of like it's almost completely closed, it's not going to fall off, it's not even going to move, then you're defeating the purpose of the simplicity of ihram clothing. Now, women don't have this requirement. So they're allowed to wear stitched garments because if they didn't, then they would become exposed. Their nakedness would become exposed. So for men, it's going to happen. You're going to tie this shirt thing around. I'm going to show it to you. You're going to have this thing around you, and it's going to be falling off. It's going to keep on opening. You're in the middle of prayer, and all of a sudden, it's just going to fall down, and yeah, your chest is going to be exposed. You can't have that for women. That's going to be happening for men, and they're just going to throw it back, or they're going to put us, even with the safety pin, it's still going to start coming off. And you're going to start seeing some chest and stuff like that. That is natural. That's why there's a simplicity of the clothing. So women are allowed to wear stitched clothing. So that's pretty convenient for them, but it's done for purposes of modesty. So some men complain. They say it's so easy for women. They can just wear whatever they're wearing. So yeah, it is. It's done for the reasons of modesty and hijab. Women can also wear socks, and they're allowed to wear shoes too, so they don't need the sandal requirement. So it is a lot easier for women to be in the state of ihram. They don't have to deal with the challenges of the type of clothing that the men are going to have to deal with. Women are not allowed to cover their face. Even if they wear niqab, they're not supposed to cover their face. They're not allowed to cover their hands. And if they're wearing gloves or whatever, you're not supposed to cover your hands either. So ihram clothing. So this is kind of, I usually do a demonstration, but for the sake of time, we're not going to do that. But here's what you do. So you have 2 sheets. So kind of almost like a towel. And when you tie the sheet, the first one you're going to tie the bottom sheet around. And you can use a belt to keep it in place, or you can tie it in a way where you kind of fold it down several times so that it stays in place. You want to make sure that this thing is staying in place, because if it doesn't stay in place, what happened? Your pants just fell down, right? If you're in the middle of prayer, you just broke your prayer, and no, you don't want to see you naked, and you don't want anyone else to see you naked. So you need to make sure this is wrapped properly, and it's wrapped tightly, and it's wrapped the right way. So it's going to be pretty long, and you're going to get a few wraps around it. So this is one mistake that people make, is they don't wrap it tightly enough, and then it keeps kind of sagging and falling down. And that's very bad, because your nakedness can be revealed. The second mistake that people make is what this guy is doing in the diagram. That's all I could find, long old picture. This guy is, if you look at his feet on the bottom, he has wrapped himself around, and his feet are going to end up stuck like this. So if he tries to take a long step, if he tries to take a 2-foot step, he's going to trip over and fall flat on his face, and it's not going to be healthy. And you have to move, you have to jog, you have to do a lot of things. So you don't want to do this. So there's a certain way to wrap this bottom loincloth in a way where you start from the side here, and then you wrap it around in a way, and you end on the other side, and you make sure that you kind of put your feet kind of, take a few steps beyond shoulder length, kind of like spread your feet a little bit wide when you're wrapping this around so that you have mobility. So my general test, I don't know if does anyone do martial arts here? You do what martial art do you do? Karate? Exactly. Perfect. So the test should be, you should be able to do a roundhouse karate kick in your ihram, and then you're safe. Then you've wrapped it properly, and you're not likely gonna fall. If it's too tight and you can't even do like a Muay Thai like leg kick, you're probably gonna fall. When you're doing tawaf, it's dangerous for you. So you don't want to do that. So don't wrap it. You want to wrap it very tight at the top, but at the bottom you want to have mobility. You need to be able to move. Otherwise, you're gonna get stuck, and you're gonna be, I don't know, walking like you're wearing some kind of, I don't know, mini skirt or high heels or something like that. So you don't want to do that. So you can wrap that one properly, and you can use a belt. That's perfectly fine. So that's one tip or trick. Also recommended, I got this tip long time ago from Sheikh Qadi. It says use anti-chafing or chafing cream, or use petroleum jelly, kind of on the inside of your thighs. Because what ends up happening is, because if you don't have the super high quality material ihram clothing and you're just using the regular one, it can rub against your thigh, or actually your inner thighs rub against themselves, and it can cause very painful, like a rash. And once it starts, it's very difficult to overcome that. So what you do is you just put some type of cream or something like that in between, so that when it's like when your inner thighs are kind of like, when you're walking, it gets hot, you get a little bit sweaty, and there's a lot of people around. When it's grinding, you're not going to develop those, whatever it's called, some type of rash or something like that. That's quite helpful tip, especially for people who are not used to this. Okay, common questions. Can a woman who has her menstrual period enter into the state of ihram? So why is this being asked? People are asking because, well, she's not allowed to pray. And according to overwhelming majority of scholars, she's not allowed to make tawaf. So if she can't make tawaf around the Kaaba, and if she can't pray, how can she enter into the state of ihram? How can she start her Hajj? So the short answer is, yes, she can still enter into the state of ihram, and she's still going to do everything else with the clothing and all of that to enter into the state of ihram from the miqat or from before the miqat. And this happened to Aisha and happened to other women at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he told them to go ahead and get into the state of ihram anyways. Is it allowed to wear a belt? We already said yes. But you say, well, a belt is stitched clothing and it wraps around your body, but it's an accessory. It's not clothing in and of itself, so you can wear that. Can you wear a fanny pack for your belt? Yes, you can. And sometimes it's recommended. So some people, they keep their money and their passport or their important items, their cell phone, they're going to keep it in like a little necklace pouch thing underneath, around their neck. Some people don't like that. They wear a fanny pack. So you can wear a fanny pack. Personally, I got this super ultra thin fanny pack that bikers wear, those elite bikers on 100-mile biking competitions wear. Super thin polyester material. It recollapses when you don't need it to be filled with anything, but then it expands when it gets filled. So it serves as a belt and it serves as a fanny pack as well. So you could check that out if you want. If you want, actually, I almost never use it, so you guys can borrow it from me if you want. Or a backpack. Can you actually have a backpack on if you've got a bunch of stuff? Backpack is an accessory. It's not a piece of clothing. So yes, you can wear a backpack. Is it allowed to wrap a jacket around your body? What if you get cold? And for men, and you're not allowed to wear stitched clothing. So you're cold and you're like, this top ihram thing is not covering it for me. And there's a lot of air conditioning sometimes in the tents and sometimes in the malls, and people can get very sick from the air conditioning. So you're like, I'm really, really cold, or I'm sitting in the bus and it's air conditioning is blowing on my head, and a lot of people can get sick. You're not allowed to wear a cap. You're not allowed to cover your head. Let's say, what can you do? So you have to figure out some things to do. So these are just some little tricks. So does anyone have this issue? Does anyone like the air conditioner in the bus when blowing on their head? Does it bother them or get them sick? Nobody? Yes? Okay, raise your hand. Yeah, okay, so it does. So what you can do, I'm not the only one. So you can take something and like tape it over the air conditioning duct, right? So you might want to take some tape with you or something like that, so it's not directly just blowing on your head, because sometimes you cannot even move the air conditioner and you may be stuck on the bus for 2 hours. This is what might happen. So be prepared for that. In terms of a jacket, let's say it gets very cold at night, or because of the air conditioning. It's obviously not a cold place, but the AC makes it feel like it's winter sometimes, in the middle of the desert. So you can put a jacket around your shoulders, but you can't put your arms through the sleeves, because if you do, then you have clothing that's wrapping around and you're wearing something stitched. But if you're using it like a blanket, and you're using a jacket like a blanket just to put over your shoulders, that's fine. That doesn't count as that. Wearing a surgical face mask to protect against germs, we talked about that. Is it allowed to use a safety pin? Yes, we talked about that. If someone uses a sleeping bag and zips it up, does that count as like stitched clothing? Some scholars have said yes, but I don't think that's a strong opinion. No, because it's a blanket. It's not like a sleeping bag is not clothing. Is it allowed to take shelter under a tree or a tent or use an umbrella? The reason why this is being asked is there's a group of people who come from a certain country. They believe that you cannot have anything above your head. You cannot use an umbrella even for the sun. You cannot. In fact, their buses are all open buses, because you cannot have anything above your head. This is not the case. You're just not allowed to cover your head directly with something. But yeah, of course, you can have an umbrella over your head. Is it allowed to cover the head or face with a blanket when sleeping? Again, this is not clothing, but it's better to not cover completely, as if you're wrapped up in a bunch of clothing when you're sleeping. Okay, intention for ihram. So the state of ihram does not start without making the intention. So you trim your nails and you put the perfume on your body, and you trim your hair, and you perform the prayers, and you put on the clothing. Are you in a state of ihram now? No. You're still not in. You got everything you've done so far until now. Sandals are on, clothing is on. You're still not in a state of ihram. It's like if you make wudu, everything's ready for prayer, and then you stand in the masjid and you're facing the qibla. Are you in prayer yet? No. You have to start the prayer with Allahu Akbar, right? And the intention. So ihram starts when you make the intention that I'm starting my Hajj now. So when you're starting your Hajj, that's when you actually get into the state of ihram, and then the restrictions become. Now you're not allowed to wear perfume anymore. Now you're not allowed to, cut your hair or trim your nails anymore. So it's recommended that you say this out loud one time. Not like loud, but just out loud. Say, "Oh Allah," you can say it in Arabic or in English. "Oh Allah, I intend to perform Hajj, so make it easy for me, and accept it from me." And if you can even mention the type of Hajj that you're doing if you want. You can say, "I'm doing Hajj and Umrah." If you're afraid that you might forget, or you might be sleeping and you're going to cross the miqat because you're so tired, you put on your clothes and everything, you got on the train and you're on your way to Mecca, and you're like, "I'm so exhausted, I just need to take a nap." But we're not going to hit the miqat until about 15 minutes. What if I sleep through it? It's better that you start your ihram state earlier so that you don't miss it, because you don't want to be going past the miqat, so you can do it earlier. How early you want to do it? Don't do it too early. So what's going to happen is some people say, "Okay, great, I'm in the Dubai airport, I put on my clothing and everything like that, and as soon as I put on my clothes in the bathroom, I'm ready to go, I trim my nails and everything, I'm going to make the intention, I'm starting right now." You make the intention, and then you arrive at the terminal, and guess what? Your plane is delayed by a day. What do? You're going to end up back in your hotel, and you're going to be sitting in that ihram clothing because you made the intention, and you're stuck. You can't just cancel it. You're stuck in ihram, and you're not going to wear any perfume. You're not going to be allowed to cut anything. You can't do this. You can't do that. So do not make it too early. Otherwise you get stuck in the state of ihram. You can't just leave it without some penalty or something like that. You are in that state. All right. Questions on that? If you put on the ihram garments early, can you do that? Yes, you can do that. Can you make the intention early before you get to the miqat? Yes, you can. Can you make it late? No, you cannot. Can the intention for ihram be made prior? Yeah, we said that already. If someone forgot to say the intention out loud and they crossed the miqat, but they had the intention in their heart. What happens? Good. It's sunnah. It's recommended to say it out loud, which means it's not required. So if you had the intention in your heart that I'm starting my Hajj now, but you didn't say it out loud, you're fine. It still counts. All right. Talbiyah. Talbiyah phrase. So right after you make your intention, you're supposed to say the talbiyah, which is labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. This means, here I come, Allah, here I come. Here I come, you have no partner, here I come. All praise and blessings are yours, as well as the dominion, you have no partner. This is known as the talbiyah. And you're going to be saying this throughout Hajj a lot. So the first time you're going to say this is after you make your intention. So after you make your intention, then you're going to chant this out loud. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik. And there's like a kind of a tune to it. It doesn't have to be with the tune, but you're supposed to say it in like a nice way. And you're going to say it in unison with other people around you too. So it is recommended to say this when you start your Hajj. It's also recommended during every transition that you repeat it again and you say it out loud. Transition means if you walk into a gathering of people and you meet them, you say labbaik Allahumma labbaik. You say this 1 or 3 times. When you're leaving that gathering, you say it again. When you get on not the train, but say you get on a bus. When you get on the bus and you're in the state of ihram, you're going to say this again. When you get off the bus, you're going to say it again. So every time there's a transitional phase, you're going to recommend it to say this again. Say this loudly so that people can hear you, and it reminds you and it reminds them that you are there for the purpose of Hajj, and you're in a state. They can see your clothing. They can't see the women so much, but they can see the men's clothing. But it reminds you and it reminds them that I am a pilgrim. I am here for this religious journey of Hajj. Say it once, or you can say it 3 times or more. Prohibitions in ihram. Now that you're in a state of ihram, things you cannot do. So men cannot cover their head. Men cannot cover their face. Men and women cannot cover their face. Men cannot cover their head. Women obviously need to be covering their head. Men cannot cover their feet, wearing sandals. Men and women both. No trimming your hair, no shaving your hair. Now, one of the most common questions that's asked again is, what if I shower? Whenever I shower, some hair falls out. So if you shower, you rub with the towel when you're drying yourself or whatever, and your hair falls out. Did you trim your hair? Did you shave your hair? So it doesn't matter if your hair falls out. Hair falling out is not trimming your hair, it's not shaving your hair. So are you allowed to shower when you're in a state of ihram? Absolutely. You can definitely shower. Once you're in ihram and you got that clothing, let's say the men's ihram clothing, you can take it off, you can take a shower, you can put it back on. Let's say it got dirty. You can take a shower. Can you switch that clothing and wear another type of clothing? Like the same type of clothing, but a different set? Absolutely. There's nothing special about that clothing. You don't have to wear the same set of clothing the whole time. Of course you can change. As long as it doesn't have stitched in order to wrap around one limb and it meets all the other requirements. So you can take a bath. You can itch. You can scratch. If you have an itch, you can scratch. You can comb your hair. Say, when I comb my hair starts falling out. So I'm not going to comb my hair. No. You're allowed to comb your hair. Is combing your hair trimming your hair? No, it's not. No clipping your nails. Also, no biting your nails. It's not clipping. Probably a bad habit. You shouldn't do it anyways. But you're not allowed to clip your nails. You're not allowed to wear any perfume. Okay, so remember, you are allowed to put on perfume on your body before you start at ihram. So whatever perfume remains on your body after you start, that's perfectly fine. Second thing is, anything that resembles perfume should not be worn. So deodorant usually has a strong smell like that. Axe deodorant or something like that. Old Spice, they got their own smells and styles and all that. That resembles perfume, and people can smell it from a distance. So that resembles perfume. You're not allowed to wear it. Hand sanitizer that is got like what do you call it? Like a flavor, an aroma, like cherry blossom hand sanitizer or something. That's my favorite. But anyways, you wear something with like my daughter's favorite is a vanilla hand sanitizer from I don't know, Sephora or something before the boycott. All right, so that has good smells, but that resembles perfume. Oh, you can almost spray it on yourself and it's like perfume. So you're not allowed to wear that. Lotion that has, what is that store? The Body Shop or something like that. It always smells like candle. What is it called? Bath and Body Works. There you go. Yeah, Bath and Body Works. You got all those things. Victoria's Secret. It's got all these different, lotion smells and stuff like that. That resembles perfume. So you're not allowed to wear that stuff. If you have the unscented versions of deodorant that's unscented, you can wear deodorant. If you have unscented or almost no scented hand sanitizer, if you have hand sanitizer with the chemical smell, no one wears chemical perfume. I can imagine that's becoming like a thing. People are weird nowadays, but no one wears that, right? Normal lotion is fine. So if it's unscented or minimally scented, it's going to be fine. What about shampoo? There are two types of shampoo. There's shampoo that when you wear them, or conditioner that you put it on, body soap that you put it on, people can smell that, it's really strong. But then there's the normal type of thing that has like very minimal scent. When you walk out, no one can almost smell any perfume at all. It just had like a little, thing to it, so it doesn't smell, weird or plain or whatever. That is going to be fine. So the question is, does it resemble perfume or does it not resemble perfume? You can use your best judgment based upon what I've explained to you. You're not allowed to have any intimacy or any intercourse when you're in a state of ihram. You can give like a peck kiss or something like that, but it should not be intimate when you're doing that. You're not allowed to, you're not allowed to hunt animals when you're in the state of ihram. If you think about why, everyone's going to Mecca. In the past, if they were going out and hunting animals, like, with their camels and they're traveling through the desert, millions of people kill off all the animals in Mecca. There'd be nothing left. So this is to protect and preserve the sanctity of Mecca and its surrounding region. And that's why Miqat starts way before you even get into Mecca, because people used to travel through that region in order to get to Mecca. Now, insects and harmful animals. Okay, if you see a spider crawling up your arm, right, and you really are scared of spiders, there are some people who are going to tell you hunting is prohibited in ihram. You cannot do that. And you're like, I need to get this spider off, and like you just get it off of you. Or you see like a cockroach and you're praying, right? Are you hunting spiders? It's not hunting. So killing an insect or something like that, whether it's in the makruh category or whether it's in the mubah category, allowed category, whatever, killing an insect is not going to be a violation of your ihram. And if there's a harmful animal that you see, unlikely, but let's say there's a scorpion or something, you're allowed to kill it, of course. You're not hunting it, you're protecting yourself. So that is not in the category of hunting. Some people really take this to the extreme, right? Like sometimes there's a locust infestation in the haram in Mecca, and there's like these locusts that are flying around all over the place, and they get into your ihram sometimes. Really gross, right? But if that, inshallah, may Allah protect you from that. But if you end up stepping on one of them, you're like, oh no, I just broke my ihram because I killed an insect. No, this is not, you didn't hunt them. So it's a different category. No marriage contracts or proposals. So don't get married. Either get married right before you go into ihram or get married after ihram is done. So don't time your marriage or even proposal in that specific time. I doubt anyone would really do that, but you're not allowed to do that. All right. And then do not commit sins. So you should not be doing any sins anyways, but you got to be extra careful. Like when you're fasting in Ramadan, be extra careful. Don't commit sins. You're not supposed to be cursing, no arguing, etc. All of those things. So other prohibitions in ihram. So violating ihram. If you need to do one of the things you're not allowed to do, but you have a good reason for it, like there's a medical reason, or you have severe discomfort, then what do? Do you suffer silently? No. There's no need for you to suffer. So people in the past, they used to get they had like a lycee. infestation in their hair or something. Well, what are you supposed to do? You shave your hair off. You're supposed to cut your hair. You get rid of it. So you don't need to be suffering. So if you have some, let's say you're really, really getting sick from this air conditioner, and you're like, this thing is gonna like just mess up my entire trip. I know I get a fever and everything like that, and I'm freezing. I cannot handle this anymore. And I need to do something about this. There's no need for you to suffer. So go and put a blanket on, or go put something on, or go put a beanie on to cover your head. And yes, you violated your ihram, but you violated it for a legitimate reason. And you're allowed to do this. There's even a verse in the Quran. So this is allowed. You're allowed to violate if you have a good reason, but you have to offer a penalty, which we're going to talk about later. So you offer the penalty, offer the compensation, which is known as fidya, but you're not supposed to be like, but I've done something wrong. If you have no good reason, then you're sinful. If you have a good reason, it's like breaking your fast. You break your fast in Ramadan if you're sick, or something's going to make you sick, and then you make it up later. So you make it up later by doing fidya, compensation. Questions. What if your clothing gets soiled with urine or blood? What can you do? Two options. Clean it off. Option number 2, change the clothing. Exactly. Can I wash my clothing with soap? If it's unscented or minimally scented, right? If you go to those Latino grocery stores, if you use Ariel scent or something like that, no way. That stuff is like it's like wearing cologne. Your clothes are gonna be smelling like the entire day. Amazing, by the way. It's great flavor, but too much. Regular, very minimal amount of soap, yes, perfectly fine. Someone has an injury, needs to shave off some hair. Can you do that? Yes, but you gotta offer a penalty. Someone accidentally violates ihram by covering their head, putting on perfume, or trimming their nails. What do? Well, immediately rectify the situation, and then they're gonna have to offer a penalty. Does smoking a cigarette violate your ihram? So, first of all, should you really be smoking cigarettes at all? No. In ihram, you really shouldn't be smoking cigarettes because they're not good for you and all of that, and smell is gonna get into your ihram, and people are going to have to smell that and all that stuff, so you shouldn't do that. But technically, I hate saying this, but technically, no. Okay? So this is ihram. We'll take a break in a little bit, inshallah. Let me finish one more slide. Arriving in Mecca. So when you arrive in Mecca, remember, around the Kaaba is a masjid known as Al-Masjid Al-Haram. And people are going to be around. This is an old picture of the Kaaba. This is a little bit more recent picture of the Kaaba. So this entire place is a place of prayer. Everyone's going to be facing towards the Kaaba for prayer. And so when you arrive in Mecca, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go check into your hotel probably, and then you're going to try quickly, if you have energy, go to the masjid and go to the Masjid al-Haram and see the Kaaba for the first time in your trip or the first time in your life. So there used to be this recommended bath before entering Mecca, but if you're going by train, you don't have a chance to do that. If you're going by bus, you're going to stop outside of Mecca and like take a bath in one of the masjids. People do that if you really want to follow the sunnah, but you may not get an opportunity to do that. Oh no, internet issue. Okay. All right. So you should go straight to the masjid as soon as you can when you arrive in Mecca. So let's say you're a little bit hungry or something like that. And you're like, I like to get a meal. I like to do some shopping. When you arrive in Mecca, the recommended thing after you check into your hotel, the first thing you're supposed to do. We've been having some internet issues lately. Okay, so the recommended thing to do is to go, one of the first things you do after checking in, it should be you go straight to the masjid. You can put your stuff in the hotel and stuff first, and every prayer you perform inside Al-Masjid Al-Haram is going to be equivalent to 100,000 prayers. So you want to get as many prayers as you possibly can. You go inside and pray inside the masjid, you see the Kaaba, you can perform tawaf, we're going to talk about that. So some tips. Never use the shoe racks in al-Masjid al-Haram unless you don't care about your shoes. Okay? Never ever use a shoe rack. So take a bag and keep your sandals with you in the bag at all times. And if you try to leave it in the corner somewhere and you'd be like, you know what, I found a corner, I think no one saw this awesome corner. Okay? I'm one of the 4 million people who discovered this awesome corner. Yeah, you're wrong. Everyone's gonna discover it too. And then you're gonna come back and you'd be like, which corner was it that I left my stuff in and all that? It's hard. Even leaving it in the shoe, so the shoe bins are numbered, which is pretty cool. But even if you leave it in a numbered shoe bin, and then you have a giant crowd, the crowd is gonna kind of sometimes move you in a direction. You're gonna have to fill in the gaps. You can't just you can't not fill in the gaps. You fill in the gaps. And then you go back and you try to get back, and there may be so many people and the crowd is moving in this direction. In order for you to get back to your shoes, you're gonna have to go against the entire crowd, and it's blocked off, and security guards say you're not allowed to go down this aisle. And you're like, but my shoes are they're just over there. Like, no, you're not allowed in this area. You have to walk all the way around half a mile to go back around to get your shoes. You're better to just try to keep it with you as much as you possibly can. I use one of those sacks, little drawstring backpacks. I just keep my sandals in that. Keep it with me most of the time. It's especially if you're not with ihram clothing on. Simpler and easier. It's very easy to lose your sandals or your shoes. Can menstruating women enter the sacred masjid? So, the sacred masjid, the Masjid al-Haram, where the Kaaba is, it's a masjid. So according to the majority of scholars and all 4 schools of thought, menstruating women are not supposed to be inside the masjid. But Imam Ibn Hazm and Imam al-Muzani, one of the top students of Imam al-Shafi'i, they actually took the opinion that they're allowed to enter. They're not allowed to pray, but they're allowed to enter into the masjid if there's some reason for doing that, because they saw that the evidence for that was qiyas based on men who are in a state of janaba and things like that. So lately, I've kind of started leaning towards that position intellectually. So I have a fatwa written on my website, askthescholars.com. You can check it out. But why would they need to be there if they're not going to be praying or performing tawaf? So, but that's a question that sometimes women ask. Is it true that supplications are accepted when you first see the Kaaba? No, there's no strong evidence for that specifically, but you should make dua anyways. There's no specific dua to make when you see the Kaaba for the first time, but you make dua anyways. So is there a special supplication to be made when you're looking at the Kaaba? No, there's no special dua, but you go ahead and make dua that you thank Allah for letting you visit Mecca and letting you see the Kaaba, because it's a special place. Okay, we'll do this and then we'll break. So tawaf qudum. So when you first arrive in Masjid al-Haram, you're going to perform what's called a tawaf. Tawaf means to walk around the Kaaba 7 times. Qudum or tahiyya means your arrival tawaf, because you just arrived in Mecca for the first time. So when you arrive, first thing you do is visit the masjid, and then you're going to perform tawaf as part of your Hajj journey. So you're going to walk around 7 times, 7 circuits. Why are you walking around? You're making the Kaaba the center point, because you're making a circle, and the Kaaba's in the middle. So it signifies that you're making this thing the center point of your motion, and therefore Allah and Islam is the center point of your life. So that's what it signifies while you're walking around the Kaaba. So this is a really old diagram. Zamzam is not there anymore, but you walk around it. Okay, I'll show you some more pictures. This should be your first act when you come into the masjid, as much as possible. So normally when you go into a masjid, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to do tahiyya of the masjid by praying 2 rakahs of prayer. It's slightly recommended, but recommended. But when you go to a Masjid al-Haram, it's the only place in the entire world where you can do tawaf instead of just prayer. So there's 2 ways to pray to Allah. One of them is tawaf, which is like salah, it's like prayer. And one of them is prayer, the normal prayer. So this is the only place you can do this. Therefore, the tahiyya, the greeting of Al-Masjid al-Haram, is performing this tawaf. So it's the greeting. First act is greeting. So you're going to do the tawaf. How do you do that? So first of all, you need to have wudu or ghusl. You need to be in a state of wudu. Your body must be covered properly, just like prayer. You can't be wearing shorts or something like that. You have to have for women, you have to be wearing proper hijab and everything. So you need to cover your body and your aura the same way that you would cover your aura for prayer. It's recommended that your clothes and your body be clean as well. This is technically, right? For salah, it's absolute requirement. Here, it's one notch down. It's recommended. And if you're menstruating or you need to make ghusl, you're in a state of janaba, meaning that you need to take a bath, you should not perform this tawaf at this time. You skip it and you wait until your menstruation is done, and then you're going to be able to perform another tawaf afterwards. You don't have to do this one if you're in that state. If your period ends before the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, then you should go and perform the tawaf of qudum or tahiyya, because the Hajj has not started yet, but your period is over now. So you go ahead and do that. All right, how to perform it. So you arrive at the Kaaba. You're going to walk all the way in through the masjid and finally get through the crowd and get in front of the Kaaba. Once you arrive at the Kaaba and you're there and you can see it and you're close by, you're going to stop making your talbiyah. You're going to stop saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik, because you're doing that while you're walking on your way once you enter into the masjid. Men are going to uncover their right shoulder. So they're going to be wearing two garments. So we talked about the bottom garment. I didn't talk about top garments. Top garment, you're just going to put it over your shoulders. You can kind of tuck one little here, and you're going to kind of throw the other thing around. So both of your shoulders are going to be covered most of the time when you're wearing your ihram clothing. So now when you get to perform your tawaf, what you're going to do is the men are going to uncover their right shoulder. So they're going to remove this part. Over their shoulder. All right, and we're going to talk about why that is. Okay, so background story. So what you only do this for the first tawaf that you're doing when you arrive in Mecca. Your other ones, you're going to be doing tawaf more than this. This is only for the first one that you come in. And there's a story behind this. Story behind it is that when the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina from Mecca, the Quraysh started spreading a rumor, because Medina was like an oasis. It had a lot of palm trees. It had a lot of stagnant water. And there was known to be a special type of fever that people would get when they would go to Medina. For people who are from outside. You know, some cities, if you didn't grow up in that city and you go there and you drink the water and you live there, you get sick. You're an outsider. Everyone else, no one's getting sick. You're the only one getting sick, right? So Medina was like that for the people of Mecca. So when the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ from Mecca, they migrated, they made hijrah and they migrated to Medina, they actually got sick. Prophet got very sick. He had a major fever. Abu Bakr had a fever. Bilal had a fever. A lot of them got very, very sick because they were not used to the climate and the environment. And there was a lot of stagnant water, and stagnant water has certain type of, illnesses and stuff like that, that the people who grew up there, they're used to that. But people who are not from there, they're not used to that. So they got very sick. And then the Quraysh started spreading a rumor, says, because they got sick, all the people who went from Mecca, they got so sick that they became weak and they're scrawny and they can't even fight. And if we attack them and if we have a battle with them, this is all before the Battle of Badr. Or this was, no, this was not before the Battle of Badr. No, this was later on. But still, they kept on spreading these rumors. They're scrawny, they're sick, they can't survive in Medina, they're getting weak. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he made Umrah, he was, after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, he went and he told the Sahaba, he said, what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. Because the Quraysh were watching them perform tawaf. So they were wearing their ihram clothing. So he said, we're going to uncover the right shoulder to show them that, you know what? We didn't lose the muscle. We still got the muscle, right? We can still fight. You want to mess with us? We still got it. And he said, not only are we going to walk like everyone else walks, we're going to jog the first 3 rounds. We're going to show that we're in shape and we're ready to go, right? So this is the underlying reason of why we imitate the Prophet, peace be upon him, that first time. So the Sahaba kept on doing it. because the Messenger of Allah did that in his first tawaf that he did. So pro tip is, before you go for Hajj, go to the gym for a few weeks. Because you know what, if you uncover the right shoulder and there's nothing there and it's just like sagging skin and everything, you're doing the opposite of what the purpose behind this was supposed to be. It's supposed to show a little muscle, to do a little, bicep curls or something. You're not showing anyone, but at least you kind of fulfill the maqsad and the original purpose behind why this is. So you're going to uncover the right shoulder and you're going to jog a little bit faster in the first 3 rounds for men. When you get in front of the Kaaba, 4 points. If you're looking at the Kaaba from the top, there's four corners, right, to the Kaaba. So one of the corners has the black stone. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what the black stone is in a moment. What you're going to do is you're going to stand in the direction of the corner of where the black stone is. And it's kind of marked there. Where there's, like, they changed the marking. It used to be a line, and now there's a marking on the building up there. So you're going to be able to tell that everyone is stopping there. This is where you start and where you stop your tawaf. So when you're there, if you can get close enough to the black stone, you're going to kiss it, which is almost impossible in Hajj. It's actually, you should not try to do that. You'll either die or you'll kill somebody else. If you get close enough to touch it, which is probably not possible either, you would touch it. But instead, what you're going to do is you're going to gesture. You're going to make some kind of gesture from a distance, and everyone else will be gesturing as if you're touching it. So you make a gesture to touch it, and you say Allahu Akbar, just like you're beginning your prayer. You say Allahu Akbar. You're going to gesture towards the black stone, and you're going to start your tawaf from that location right there. And now you're going to walk counterclockwise around the Kaaba. Okay, and you're going to walk 7 times. Men are going to increase their speed in the first 3 rounds. Like I said, you're going to jog a little bit. Now, if it's completely crowded, you're going to have people are walking and they're walking really slowly and there's nowhere to go. It's like you're in a traffic jam. So how do you jog? You can't really jog. So what you can do is you can just kind of symbolically do a little power walk type of half jog that kind of like makes it seem like a jog if you can. And if you can't, this is like slightly recommended. It's not a requirement for you to do that. And this is only in your first tawaf and it's only in the first 3 rounds. What do you do when you're making tawaf and you're going around the Kaaba? You're going to make dua, any dua that you want. And you can make dua in any language, actually. So you're allowed to make dua. You're going to make zikr, any type of zikr. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. You're going to recite Quran, whatever Quran you have memorized. Or you could pull out a little book, or people don't use books anymore. You could pull out your phone, and you could turn off all your settings, by the way. You don't want to be getting text messages and checking WhatsApp groups and all that. You can check whatever you have saved, and you can recite from the Quran. You can recite zikr. You can recite du'as that you have written down or whatever it is. You want to have all of that. But keep in mind, it's always good to memorize. Because if you're sitting there staring at your phone, people are bumping into you, and you're trying to keep tabs on your family or stay with your group or something like that. So the more you have memorized, the more you can be aware of your surroundings, and then you can be doing what you've memorized rather than sitting there trying to follow somebody else who's saying it, because they may get lost, they may get separated and parted from you, so you can't hear them anymore. Or you're staring at your phone and it's more distracting, you can't really focus. So it's best to memorize as many things as you can, but you have a lot of flexibility. There is nothing specific that you absolutely need to say according to the most authentic hadith. Now you'll find some books, they say first round is recommended to do this and second round is recommended to say this. You can follow that. It's not wrong to do that, but it's not really a requirement or even a strong, authentic recommendation to do that except one place. Okay, so you do that. When you get to the Yemeni corner, this is the authentic place where you're supposed to say something specific. You say, "Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina azab an-nar." Our Lord, give us good in this life, good in the next life, and save us from the punishment of the hellfire. So the Yemeni corner is another part of so there's 4 corners. The first corner has the black stone in it, and the black stone is where you start your tawaf. And then you're going to walk and you're going to go around, you're going to go past the second corner, and you're going to walk around past the third corner. Once you get to the 4th corner, that's known as the Yemeni corner. The Yemeni corner because the point goes south and Yemen is in the south. Remember, the miqat was Yalamlam, where you start from. So it's in the southern direction. So that's known as the Yemeni corner because it faces Yemen. So, and when you get near that place, that's when you say at least once this dua. This is the authentic dua that the Prophet ﷺ said for every single round that you make whenever you cross the third corner. And then when you get to the fourth corner, you're back at the starting point where the black stone is, and you're going to resume. That counts as one lap, right? So there's like, it used to be a line, but now it's like just adjacent, or parallel, whatever the geometric term is, to the black stone, to that corner. Once you complete one round, you have finished one circuit, and you're going to make a total of 7. You want to keep track. So one way to keep track is you keep a counter with you. Sometimes people, they don't keep track properly because it takes a long time. It could take 10 minutes to do a circuit. It could take 15 minutes to do a circuit. So some people, they try and count on their fingers and then they forget, and then you got to do like more. So it's good to have a counter, maybe make your life a little bit easier. What I do is, if you got one of those watches, you can, if you have a stopwatch, you can actually time your lap and then push lap. And then you can see how long each lap took, actually. And I used to send this to, I was leading groups. I used to send this to my group, if I would go in advance and tell them, hey, I go a little bit faster than other people. Some people have, walking issues and they can't go as fast. So I would send them my times and say, look, I did 7 laps. This is the time for each lap. At this time, if you guys are deciding whether you want to have dinner in the hotel or you want to come and make another tawaf, here's what my average time is right now. And then people would decide, hey, this looks like a pretty good time to go because it doesn't seem to be so crowded. So then you can kind of share that data or information with other people so they know what to expect. Knowing what to expect helps you a lot. It's like a traffic jam. If you're stuck in a traffic jam and it tells you, look, it's going to take you 1 hour and 45 minutes to get to, Culver City, right? Or downtown LA. That helps you because you're like, it should take an hour. Yeah, it should take an hour, but it's not. It's traffic jam. It's going to take you a lot longer. So when you know what to expect, it kind of helps people to be more patient and say, oh, this is okay. This is totally expected. So anyways, keep a counter somehow so you remember which circuit, which round you're on. And then you're going to repeat this and you keep track of that and you make these 7 rounds. After you finish 7 rounds, men are going to recover their shoulder because that was only for the tawaf, first tawaf and the tawaf time only. So this is the black stone in the Yemeni corner. So the black stone, if you look very carefully here, you can see these little markings that are look like little fragments. These are fragments. So the black stone was originally a rock that was placed by Prophet Ibrahim in the corner of the Kaaba to mark. What's special about it, the authentic narrations, is what's special about it is it's the place where the tawaf starts. There's a marking stone for starting the tawaf. And he couldn't find another rock, and this was a rock that was miraculously sent to him. What ended up happening to this is 2 things. Number 1, the Prophet ﷺ used to go and kiss the stone out of respect because it's part of the Kaaba, and he used to kiss it on every round, or he would touch it. So because the Messenger of Allah showed respect to the rock, and he's showing respect not because of the rock, but because it's the Kaaba, and it's the starting place for the Kaaba. So it's like the special part of the Kaaba because it's where you start your tawaf. That's what made it special. This is not a holy rock or a special rock where if you touch it, you go to Jannah. If you kiss it, all your sins are forgiven. People act very weird around this rock. Should not start to act strange like that or have this notion or idea. Second thing about this is that the fragments are there because this rock was stolen by the Qaramita, by the Qarmatians, after the Prophet ﷺ by a few hundred years, and they stole it for like 22 years. So the rock was missing for a long time, and then it was finally recovered, but they smashed it into pieces, and only small fragments of it were recovered. So what you're seeing, this giant thing here, is not the black stone. These are fragments of the leftover black stone after it was stolen by the Qaramita leader, and then it was put back into a molding and then put back into the place of the Kaaba, which is a reminder that it's just a rock. It is not supposed to be seen as something that people take almost like an idol or something like that. Here is the Yemeni corner. So this is a marker to begin, special sent by Allah, got damaged and broken. The Prophet ﷺ used to kiss the black stone. When it comes to the Yemeni corner over here, has a little marking. I don't know if this has changed or not, but the sheet of the Kaaba is pulled up during Hajj time because so many people are going to get next to it. So you're going to see a little bit unique marking on this third corner, known as the Yemeni corner. So the Prophet ﷺ, he used to touch the Yemeni corner every time he would pass by it. And so if you can get close, you can touch it. This is maybe a possibility. But if you can't, you don't gesture to it or anything like that, but you start making the dua, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana, when you pass by it. This is probably one of the original sections when the Kaaba was being rebuilt, even during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So that's why he would touch it. All right, tips and questions. So tips. Each round can take sometimes 15 minutes or more if there's a lot of crowding and people are going very slow. So you need to have the energy, the stamina to, do this tawaf. Make sure you're ready and be prepared. Don't start losing cool and saying, why are these people in front of me so slow? If I could get in that lane, it would be much faster. And then you move to that lane like a traffic jam. You get in that lane and you think it's going faster, and then all of a sudden they start slowing down and the other lane starts going faster. You're like, man, I got in the wrong lane. I could have speed this up. You know what? It's tawaf. It's going to take a long time. People are going to be slow. There's going to be some person who's on a walker, in a wheelchair going slowly. That's just going to happen. So prepare yourself. It could take a long time. Use a counting device so that you don't forget. If there's if there's a lot of crowding, you could go on upper levels and perform it on the upper levels as well. My advice, do not go near the black stone at Hajj time. There's too many people. When you get close, it's like a mosh pit. People are pushing and shoving, and they shouldn't be doing that, but they are. And if you get in there, it's very, women should never go close, and kids should not go close. But if you get in there and you're like, you know what, I think I can do it, okay? I can push myself in there, and yeah, you can. You probably can. But you know what? How many people will you have to have pushed and cramped and gone around to get what? What do you get if you make it to the black stone and you end up kissing the black stone? First of all, if you get it touching it, still pretty good. If you put your head in there, your head can get smashed from the back because people are pushing. It gets very wild. This is not a new thing, by the way. You say, man, Muslims nowadays, these Muslims, why can't, our ummah has gotten messed up. It wasn't like this before. No, I read a book called Al-Ikhtiyar by Al-Mawsili, Iraqi scholar, Hanafi scholar. He was writing, in fact, Imam Quduri mentions this too, even before him. It's like 700 years ago, no, 800 years ago, he was writing. He was saying, it's so bad that the Muslims nowadays, 800 years ago, the Muslims nowadays, they go up to the black stone and they're pushing each other. Why are they doing this? It's haram to push somebody else like that. This has been a problem throughout history. This is not a modern problem. People get excited and they're like, it's FOMO. It's literally FOMO. Someone else, you got to the black stone? Dude, I'm doing it, man. I'm gonna get in there, and if you got to the black stone, I can do it too. And you push your way through and you get to the black stone and say, I did it. And you got like blood dripping down, you like killed 3 kids, a woman fell down. You're like, yeah, man, I did it. What did you get? You got nothing. You achieved nothing. So think very carefully before you get into FOMO mode about what is the reward for kissing the black stone. What is it? Nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's just an accomplishment. Wow, you made it to the front. You pushed your way through the front, and then somehow you pushed yourself to get back out of there. It's literally like a mosh pit. Hopefully you've never been to a mosh pit because you shouldn't be going to concerts. But if you have, you know what it is like. Yes. Absolutely reduce. If you hurt somebody, if you harm someone, and it's like partly your fault, you will reduce the reward of your Hajj. Absolutely. Sometimes there may be some random time you end up during Hajj time and you go to the Kaaba and you're like, for some reason, there's not many people there. They must all be eating dinner or they must be somewhere else. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and wait in line and go slowly and say, no, you can go first. No, I don't need to. You go ahead. Move up a little bit. Oh, would you like to go first? Go ahead. No problem. And you go and you slowly go ahead and do it. It's great. It's experience. It's something the Prophet ﷺ did, but not necessarily something the Prophet ﷺ that you really should be doing. So it's nice if you can do it, but if there's a crowd, I wouldn't push my way through it because you can cause more problems. Also, forgive accidental pushes by other people. And some people are ignorant. Some people are accident because people get very aggravated. Someone comes, hits you in the back of the head while you're doing tawaf. You're like, astaghfirullah, can't you watch where you're going? You know what? Sometimes it may not even be that person because someone else pushed them. And someone else pushed that other person. It's like when you go in a parking lot, and you look and you're parking, and you're like, man, look at this guy parked over the line, and this other guy parked over the line. And then a few days later, you go in the parking lot, and then you see one guy parked over the line, and then you had to park over the line too, because the other person parked over the line. And then the next person who comes, he looks at your car, look at this guy parked over the line, he's looking at your car. Did you have a choice? It wasn't there's nothing you can do about it. So it may not even be your fault. So if you get pushed, it may not even be that person's fault. Don't look around and start giving them a lecture. I see Americans do this all the time. This is the house of Allah. Why can't you show respect over here? And you start losing your temper. It may not even be that person's fault. And let's say it is that person's fault. That person is going around pushing everyone. This is not the moment and the time to fix the Muslim ummah in the entire world. This is not the time to give a khutbah and be like, alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. We must go back to the akhlaq of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is your time to make your tawaf, focus on yourself, and just forgive those things and focus on your own thing. You will get pushed. You will get touched if you're a woman. Someone may, move your hijab or something like that. Try to keep some cushion space around you and just let these things go. Because if you don't let them go, you're just going to be frustrated and aggravated the whole time. Like those people who are sitting in traffic jams and they're just think like, why isn't traffic going? And they're mad the whole time. And there's the other person who's just calm. So you know what? It's going to be 2 hours. I'll listen to a podcast. I'll read some Quran. I'll do something. Be that calm person. Focus on your ibadah. If you get tired during the tawaf, let's say it's taking a long time, or you arrive in your hotel and you're really tired, what do? Well, let's just say you can delay this later. Let's say you're in the middle, you do 4 rounds. You say, I'm so tired, my feet are hurting, I just can't do it. What should you do? You go back to your hotel and you rest. And then when you come back, it's like I gotta start all over again. You don't. You don't have to start. You start off where you start from where you left off. So as long as you didn't break your wudu or whatever, you start from where you left off. Even if you broke your wudu, you start from where you left off, and you can continue. If you get tired, you can take a break. You can sit down, take a quick breather or whatever, and then continue. Are you allowed to talk or use a cell phone? Like you're not allowed to talk in salah. This is like salah. Are you allowed to talk? Yes, you're allowed to talk technically. Should you be talking on the phone to other people? No. If it's an emergency, you need calling someone. You're like, hey, I forgot something very important in the hotel. Put the money in the safe, whatever. That's fine. Although you shouldn't be having conversation with somebody else. Some people, they do tawaf and they're having conversation. Guess where I'm at? I'm in front of the Kaaba. Check this out. I'm going to do a selfie for you right now. I'm going to live stream this. Watch this, guys. This is me in front of the black stone. This is me in front of the Kaaba door. Look at that one. This is not a photo opportunity. This is an act of ibadah. So seriously, focus. All right, if you lose wudu, you got to leave. You got to make wudu. Wudu is far. To make wudu, you have to go kind of far. Make wudu and come back and continue from where you left off. How can you speed up? It's called ramal, like the jogging. I explained that already. If you don't remember how many rounds you performed, what do you do? Just like prayer. If you don't remember how many rak'ahs you've performed, what do? You go what? What? Yeah. So one extra meaning that you assume the lower number. You're like, this has got to be 4 or 5. I don't remember. Assume 4, and you just do. If it was 5, you did an extra. If it was 4, then you're correct. Always assume the lower number. The Prophet said, "Da' ma yaribuk ila ma la yaribuk." Leave what gives you doubt for what doesn't give you doubt. So if you're doubtful about 4 or 5, which one are you sure of? You're sure of the 4. You're doubtful of the 5. So you just assume the one that you know for sure, which is 4. Should you make dua out loud? You're supposed to make dua to yourself. You can make it a little bit out loud for concentration, but if you make it out loud so loud that you're disturbing everyone else around you, that's not right. So don't do that. Don't disturb other people. Can you wear sandals or shoes? So there's two types of tawaf, right? This is a tawaf when you're in the state of ihram. Men can obviously not wear shoes. Can they wear sandals even inside? You're inside the masjid, so you're supposed to take off your sandals too. But technically, let's say something happens for whatever reason, your feet are hurting really badly or something like that. If you wore shoes or you wore sandals, for women, let's say, wear shoes, you don't want to be wearing your dirty shoes inside the masjid. It's going to make it dirty for everyone else. But if you were to technically wear brand new shoes, you had like a brand new pair of sandals or slippers or something like that, assuming you're not in ihram, you're wearing slippers and you're making tawaf, you could technically do that. But you want to be careful because some people might look at you and you'd be like, oh, they don't know that you're wearing brand new shoes. They'd be like, why are you wearing shoes? You're making it dirty for everyone else. It's not that it's wrong to wear sandals or shoes when you're able to, but people may assume the wrong thing. So, but technically you can. If you need to stop during prayer, so let's say prayer is starting, you made 4 rounds, and now prayer is about to start. What do? You stop, you pray, and then you resume from where you left off. That's all you do. Okay? All right. We have 30 minutes left. Should we just continue and finish? Or should we take a break? Continue and finish? Okay, let's do that, inshallah. So after tawaf is done, recommended to perform 2 rakahs, 2 units of prayer at a place known as Maqam Ibrahim, the station of Ibrahim, or it could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be at this location. So what is Maqam Ibrahim? Maqam Ibrahim is a stepping stone that Prophet Ibrahim used to stand on when he was building the Kaaba, because the Kaaba was a little bit high. And this stone used to be at the Kaaba. And during the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, when he was the second Khalifa, he had the stone moved back because it was getting in the way of people going and performing the tawaf, going around the Kaaba. So there is this place where it has that stone, and it's said that, his footprints or his sandal prints are kind of like in the stone. So it's in like this encasing, and it's like looks like it's golden and stuff like that. You're supposed to be around there. That's known as the Maqam Ibrahim, the station of Ibrahim. But it gets very crowded as well. So you can't be like right behind it. It takes a long time. You have to wait in a long line. So it can be anywhere around that area or behind. You're allowed to pray these 2 rakahs actually anywhere. You don't have to specifically do it only there. And then remember, this is only recommended. So you're going to recite same surah. What was surah 109? Kafirun, and then Ikhlas. All right, so you're going to recite those 2 as sunnah, recommended to do that. Tip is in Hajj time. Umrah is different. In Hajj time, don't try to get near Maqam Ibrahim. Don't be like, I want to try to get right where that is. I want to pray right behind it, because you're going to be pushing, or you're going to get stepped on. Like if you go into sajda and other people are trying to get in and one person gets pushed, you could literally have your head stepped on, and it's not comfortable unless you're into that for chiropractic reasons or something. I don't know. So it's not a pleasant sight. So you can pray anywhere. Then what you're going to do, after you finish your tawaf, you're going to do sa'i, which is walking between Safa and Marwa. These are 2 hills, and you're going to make 7 back and forth. So 7 times one way, and then back, and then 1 way and back. So 7 times walking back and forth. This is because the story of Hajar, the wife of Ibrahim, and the Zamzam. So we talked about this a little bit, where Prophet Ibrahim was instructed to leave his wife Hajar and his son Ismail at Mecca. And there was no one living there. And there was no water, and there was no food, and their supply started running out. And so Hajar was looking around for somebody to go and help them, some caravan to come by. They needed some help because he had left. Ibrahim had left. So she was going back and forth between these hills, trying to search for somebody, if any caravans passing by. And she left her son around this area where she couldn't see him during the time when they were in between these green pillars or these green slopes. So she would be running from that area, and the rest of the time she would be walking. So what you're going to do is we're reenacting the sacrifice and the patience of Hajar by walking back and forth between these 2 hills. And you're supposed to run. You don't sprint, but you kind of want to jog between the 2 green slopes here, and you're going to see the markings over there. This is an abstract picture for you, just so you can understand what's happening. You'll see people jogging between these 2 areas. So that's why you want to tie your ihram clothing properly so that you can actually jog this and not fall on your face. This is what it looks like. It's actually enclosed now. It's got different levels. You could do it on any level. It's a giant hallway. You're going to go back one way and then come back the other way. And you're going to do this 7 times. It's air conditioned. It's got fans and everything like that. Prerequisites. It's recommended to have wudu. Remember, tawaf, you have to have wudu. For sa'i, recommended you have wudu. Women who are in their menstrual period, technically, they're not allowed to perform tawaf, but they could do sa'i. But it's recommended to skip sa'i unless she has already made her tawaf and then her menstruation began right after that, which is probably very unlikely. How do you perform sa'i? So if you're doing ifrad or qiran, don't worry about that. We'll skip that one. Well, you don't need to do sa'i right now. If you're doing tamattu, you will do sa'i. So you go to Safa area, which is the hill of Safa, what it used to be before the enclosure, and you're gonna get up a little bit higher. You're gonna face the Kaaba. Some places you can see the Kaaba, most places, some levels you cannot see it, but that's okay. You face in the direction of the Kaaba. You say Allahu Akbar. You start. You're gonna make a dua, any dua you want, and then you're gonna walk all the way to Marwa. Same like tawaf. You're gonna make dua. You're gonna make zikr. You're gonna recite Quran, whatever you want. Recommended to run or jog between the green markers. Hajj ran through this area. You're gonna ascend up to Marwa on the other side. You're gonna face the Kaaba again. You're gonna make a dua. And you're going to go back down, and you're going to go all the way back to the other side. So that's one trip and back. So you're going to start at Safa, and if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, where do you end up at? Marwa. So you're going to end up at Marwa. So then you're done 7 times. Some people make this mistake. In fact, one of my family members recently went for the first time in his life, and he thought it was 7 rounds. So he did 1, 2, 3, and he's more tired than everyone else in the family because he got split from the family. He's like, that was exhausting. And he did that too. Happens. So that's why it's good to take a Hajj workshop before going or an Umrah workshop. So you're gonna do this, repeat it, finish 7 trips. That's why I don't say 7 rounds, because some books they say 7 rounds and you get confused. Well, a round means you're doing a round, so 7 rounds. So 7 trips or 7 one ways. You're going to make dua, and then you finish. Some tips and questions. 980 feet apart each way. That makes 1.3 miles, 2.1 kilometers. If you're not used to it, start doing cardio before you leave for Hajj or for Umrah. You're walking on marble. Your feet will start hurting. You just did a tawaf, by the way. This is 1.3 miles, not counting the tawaf that you did, depending on how far away you are. So you just walked on marble. And then you're going to walk on more marble. And then you're running through the green markers on marble. And if you're a man, you did 3 jog rounds on marble. So you're not used to being on an unpadded environment. Your shoes are padded. The carpet in the masjid is padded. Your carpet in your home is padded. My advice is try to find a place with marble and walk around for a week and see how it feels to get your feet used to it. And then you're going to be like, that's what it feels like on marble. So you're like, 1.3 miles? I can walk 1.3 miles. Walk 1.3 miles barefoot on marble. And it's not the same it's not your treadmill with your shoes on and your special SAS, padding, designed for your feet or whatever it is. So be careful when you're descending from the hill, because it's not really steep, but it's a little bit. And if it's a little bit incline, remember, there's a lot of people. If there's a lot of people, you could potentially get pushed. You don't want to fall. So be careful. Do a little, go slowly. Bend your knees a little bit in case someone pushes you from the back. You're not straight-legged. Go do some parkour classes or something, and you'll learn how to, roll in case you fall or something like that. All right, you don't have to do that. If it's crowded, go to the upper levels. Find a level that's less crowded. Message with people from your group or your friends and say, hey, what level are you on? How's the crowding like right now? It's good to communicate with each other now that we have devices for communication. Should your right shoulder be uncovered? This question. Why not? Only for tawaf, exactly. So it's not supposed to be uncovered. And so, so it's not supposed to be covered. So should the right shoulder be uncovered? No. If a person is very tired after tawaf, can they take a rest and then do their sa'i later? Yes, they can. If you need to stop in the middle and you've done, let's say, 5 one-ways for congregational prayer, prayer starts, you pray. You can pray right there. People will pray right in the middle of where the place of sa'i is, and then you continue from where you get. If you get tired, you can take a break, and then you can resume as well. Is it allowed to talk? Same as tawaf. Don't have conversations, no time for selfies, but you can communicate if you need to. Release from ihram. So now that you're done with your tawaf, if you're doing tamattu, you're merging umrah into hajj, now you will be released from ihram. You can shave your hair or you're going to trim your hair to complete. This is your umrah, by the way. It's part of your tawaf here. So this is your umrah, you do tawaf and you do sa'i. This is umrah. So now you're done with this. So what you're going to do is you're going to shave your hair, you're going to trim your hair. Which one should you do right now? Normally, shaving your hair is more reward than trimming your hair. But in this case, you're going to trim your hair. Why are you going to trim your hair here? Because you're about to shave it later. So now you won't have anything to shave. So you're going to trim your hair now, and then you're going to shave your head the second time. So shaving is normally better, except unless time until Hajj is short. Usually that's the case. The option is you trim a fingertip length from all around. This is for women. They're going to be trimming at least a fingertip length from all around. So some scholars have taken the opinion, say, oh, you can just trim like 1, 2, 3 locations or something. Others say, no, you have to do the whole head or 1/4 of the head. I lean towards the second opinion, that you have to do a proper trimming of the hair, not just a symbolic one. Women obviously don't shave their head, they're going to trim. And this is like saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah in your prayer. Now you're out of your ihram state. Your umrah is complete. You change your clothes, put on your normal clothes again, put some perfume on, go take a shower. All of the restrictions are done. Do not cut your hair inside the masjid, okay? That's just not nice. So you're like inside the sa'i area, and some people, they pull out scissors, or the pocket knife, and then they start trimming, and then they leave all the hair clippings right there, and other people are walking on the hair trimmings of other people. Don't be that person. There are barbers nearby, you can find them easily. Is it fine to cut a few strands of hair? I mentioned that. You should do more than that. You should do all around. At least a fingertip length. The fingertip is like this much length. So now Hajj begins. You wait, chill out, go for prayer, do some shopping. 8th of Dhul Hijjah, now your Hajj is technically beginning, even though our workshop is almost ending. Right? So it needs to be more than 2 hours. 8th of Dhul Hijjah, if tamattu, you need to go back into ihram again after sunrise on the day. Now you're going to be wearing your ihram for 48 hours. So you might want to keep a second pair with you, especially if you don't have your belongings nearby. You're going to be going to Mina. And in Mina is the place where Ibrahim was supposed to sacrifice his son, but Allah saved him because it was only a test from Allah. And there's also 3 markers where he threw stones when Shaitan came and whispered to him, and he was trying to get Shaitan away from him. So we're reenacting that ritual of Prophet Ibrahim. There's also a masjid known as Masjid al-Khayf there. Pretty hard to get to, but you might be able to get to it. This is just the place where the Prophet, peace be upon him, prayed, and they built a masjid over it later on. This is not some special masjid where the Prophet built the masjid at the time. You're going to arrive at Mina before noontime in the state of ihram. When you're in Mina, you're always going to be shortening your prayers at Mina when you're in Hajj time. Nobody's at Mina outside of Hajj time. You're going to stay the entire day and just pray, and that's it. You're just going to pray your normal prayers and do whatever else you want. Go about your day, read Quran, whatever it may be. These are the locations that you're going to be going through in your Hajj. So there's Mecca, there's Mina, Muzdalifah, and Arafah. The order in which you're going to go is you start in Mecca, which we just talked about. Now you're going to be starting your Hajj on the 8th day. You're going to go to Mina. From Mina, you're going to go to Arafah. From Arafah, you're going to go back to Muzdalifah. From Muzdalifah, back to Mina. Mina, back to Mecca. Mecca, back to Mina again. So you're doing some travel. All right? So day 2. You wake up. You're going to be going today to the plain of Arafah, or also known as Arafat. This is where the Prophet, peace be upon him, gave his farewell sermon. And this is a masjid there called Masjid Namira. It wasn't a masjid before, but they made a masjid later on. You don't have to go to this masjid, nothing special about it. There's also a mountain of mercy. It's a little hill area. It's known as Jabal al-Rahma. Everyone tries to get there, pretty hard to get there, but not impossible. There's no extra reward for getting over there. So you don't need to make this a special thing that you have to do. It's not easy to find your group to get back. So you're going to pray Fajr at Mina in the morning. You're going to leave for Arafah. Either you're going to take a bus or you're going to take a train. Because Arafah is a little bit far from Mina, so you probably don't want to walk this one, but you could. They used to walk it in the past. Try to arrive before noon. I'll take questions at the end, inshallah. Yeah. Try to arrive before noon. You have to arrive before sunset. If you don't make it by sunset, you've missed the most important part of Hajj, and your Hajj is invalid. So you've got to get there on time. Shorten and combine Zuhr and Asr prayer during the time of Zuhr prayer at Arafah. If you got late, then you're going to do it during the time of Asr prayer, if you're late. Why would you combine prayers here, but you're not combining prayers when you're in Mina? In Mina, you're praying your normal prayers. But when you get to Arafah, you're combining, because what's going to happen is even the people who don't generally combine prayers, like the Hanafi school and some opinions within the Maliki school, there's restrictions, and some within the Hanbali school of whether you're staying in a location or not. Not everyone says you should be combining prayers, even when you're traveling, at all times. So even the ones who say you shouldn't be combining prayers, even when traveling, this is the one exception to the rule. So you're supposed to. Why are you supposed to? Because the Prophet ﷺ did it exactly this way, and because you're going to be making dua the whole time of Asr time. So that's why you did your prayer early. So you can focus on making dua. This is the most important part of Hajj, Arafah. Okay? You're going to remember Allah. You're going to make dua. You can ask Allah for forgiveness. You're going to remember to say the talbiyah sometimes, labbaik Allahumma labbaik. It's preferable to stand and make dua, raise your hands, face the qibla. You can take breaks from some of the motions and stuff that you're doing, to have a little snack, do something. You're going to keep on doing this until sunset time. It could take several hours. It used to be. It could take several hours by bus when you are going to Arafah. So you have to be prepared. You have to leave on time. Make sure you leave on time and you don't be late. If you're late, you will lose your Hajj, so you don't want that to happen. Don't waste your time socializing. This is the most important part of Hajj. You can socialize more in Mina, but this is not the best time to socialize. Resting at Muzdalifah. When you come back, on your way back, you're going to stop at a place called Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah is an open plain. There's no tents there or anything like that. You're going to leave Arafah after sunset. You're not going to pray Maghrib. Normally, you're like, sunset came in, you're supposed to pray Maghrib. Here, you're supposed to purposely delay your Maghrib prayer and not pray Maghrib at Arafah. You're going to go to Muzdalifah, and then you're going to pray Maghrib and Isha, shortened and combined, at Muzdalifah at the time of Isha. If you get there early, you still wait till time of Isha. Right? If you're early, you're going to delay and pray in Isha time, because that's exactly what the Prophet did. If you're late past midnight, then you should still pray combined. Your job at Muzdalifah is to get in a sleeping bag and go to sleep. Nothing else. You're not supposed to stay up late at night and pray. You're going to need your energy for the next day. Muzdalifah is the open plain. It is for some people, it's the toughest part of Hajj because it's not the best or cleanest facilities. So I would recommend using the bathroom at Arafah and then trying to use the bathroom again at Mina, and trying to avoid using the bathroom or drinking a lot when you're at Muzdalifah, because the lines for the bathrooms are long. It's not pretty, and try your best, not to ever need to make ghusl, at Muzdalifah. All right, so you get some sleep, and this is a place where you don't really this is where your group is going to get all broken up, and everyone's going to be in, different sleeping bags and stuff like that, and stuff's going to happen. So all of a sudden, this happens to everyone. Like, you go to sleep, you wake up, and you have someone wasn't there before. Everyone's trying to find a spot on the ground. Wasn't there before. You're going to find one person, random person, over there. Their foot is right next to your head. And you're like, what the heck is going on? Where did this person come from? You turn the other side, and there's another woman sleeping next to you in a sleeping bag. You're like, what in the world is going on here? This is what happens because it's a little bit chaotic in Muzdalifah. It's okay. Just somehow move a little bit and get some sleep. Be patient. if someone finds great difficulty in staying at Muzdalifah, now it can be challenging to stay there. So if somebody is old or somebody is sick, they're allowed to skip Muzdalifah. So you can skip it and you can go from Arafah straight back to Mina where your tent is. If you have a family member that you're taking care of and you need to help escort them back to Mina, you can skip Muzdalifah as well and you go back to Mina with them. If you don't, but you're just a spoiled, entitled American kid, and you're like, I want to do what those old people are doing. I want to skip Muzdalifah too. Suck it up and stay on the floor in Muzdalifah. It'll be a good life experience. You don't have a reason for skipping it, okay? But people who are elderly and stuff, they have a legitimate excuse. They can just skip Muzdalifah and they can go right back to Mina. Day 3, you're going to pray Fajr at Muzdalifah if you're there, unless you went back to Mina. You're going to remember Allah until sunrise. If convenient, you try to collect 7 pebbles or 49 pebbles. They're like chickpea size, not like boulders or big rocks. You can check like little tiny things. Try to get actual pebbles, not random pieces of concrete or cement that have been chipped away or something. But there's a lot of pebbles here. So you get them, you're going to keep them with you because you're going to need them to throw them soon. You're going to leave for Mina. Go back to Mina where your tent is. This is known as the tent city. I had a picture last night. I didn't have a picture in this presentation, but the whole place is just full of tents. All right, you're going to go to the stoning markers, what's known as the Jamarat. This is where Prophet Ibrahim was tempted and he threw the pebbles that Shaitan symbolizing. So there are 3 pillars to stone. Today on the 10th, it's only going to be 1. You're only going to throw 7 pebbles at one of these. And remember, 10th of Dhul Hijjah for the rest of the world is the day of Eid, Eid al-Adha. For you too, but you're actually in the middle of Hajj. So you're going to go to the large stoning marker. It's just called the large one. So it's like the same size. It's called Al-Jamrat al-Kubra. Recommended to do this between sunrise and noontime. You're allowed to delay it and do it between noon and sunset as well if it's too crowded. It is disliked without a good excuse, unless you're old or sick, to do it between sunset and dawn time. There's going to be a lot less people there, but it's makruh to do that unless you have a very good excuse. You arrive there. You stop saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik, your talbiyah. You're going to throw 7 pebbles. Each one you throw, you're going to say Allahu Akbar every time you throw it. Symbolic gesture. You don't have to launch it and try to break the wall. You just launch it and try to hit the wall. Weak or ill people cannot make it in there because it's crowding and gets pushy and stuff. They can give their pebbles to somebody else to throw on their behalf and they can do it for them. This is what the stoning markers used to look like in like the 1990s. They made them into larger walls and there is a massive structure now that has replaced that with multi-levels and everything. It's got umbrella on top and it's fantastic structure built by I think German engineers. So anyways, this makes a lot less crowding. This is where if you ever heard of people used to die in the 2000s, this is where most people used to die, where there's a lot of crowding and stuff. So they kept expanding. Now I think there's very few deaths in this area due to crowd control and traffic control because of this cool structure with the helicopter pad and everything. So you're going to go on the level that you're instructed to go on, throw your pebbles, 7 pebbles. If it's crowded, you can throw from upper levels. Don't misthrow and hit somebody else in the head. So get as close as you can and then throw. Make sure you don't hit other people with your pebbles. If you throw 2 pebbles at once, don't do it. Just throw 1 at a time. Can the weak and ill who left Muzdalifah early throw their pebbles before sunrise? We answered that question. All right. If you're doing tamattu or you're doing qiran, after you throw your pebbles, you need to offer a sacrificial animal in Mecca. How are you going to do this? You're going to have your group operator or your hotel in the lobby. You can pay for it and they'll sacrifice it for you. If you have a friend who lives in Mecca, you can actually do your own animal sacrifice if you have a hookup or something. So I had a friend one time in Mecca when I went, and it was weird. We were in like a random parking lot. We like pulled out a goat. We like slaughtered the goat in the parking lot. But I don't recommend you do that. Just pay someone and let them go ahead and do it for you. They're going to process the meat for you, and you go ahead. Why are you doing a sacrifice as well? Because you're combining Umrah and Hajj together. So you're thanking Allah for combining 2 acts of worship together. You're not doing Ifrad, Hajj. So therefore, you're doing an extra sacrifice as well. Whereas you wouldn't have to do that if it was the other one. So you offer one goat, one sheep, one lamb, or you share 1/7 camel or cow between those people. You pay the fee and it gets done for you. Okay? And then when you're done with the sacrifice, you're going to shave your head or you can trim your hair. And then you are in a state of partial release from ihram. So what is partial release from ihram? Everything is allowed but intercourse. So you can go back into your normal clothing, you can go back into putting perfume on and everything, but still intercourse and intimacy is not allowed. How can I know when my animal has been slaughtered? So there are millions of animals. So do you wait? So the thing is, until your animal is slaughtered, you can't do some other aspects of the Hajj. You can assume that once you've paid and the time has come, you can assume that your animal has been processed, unless they're able to give you. I don't think they can give you a ticket when it gets processed. So you can go ahead and safely assume that so millions of animals are being processed, so that your animal has been processed by the right time. Then you're going to go after that to perform another tawaf. This is known as tawaf ifada or tawaf ziyarah. So you go to Mecca again. You're going to perform another tawaf, 7 rounds. All right. And what are you going to be wearing? Normal clothing. Okay. So now it's easier tawaf. So you're going to go perform tawaf 7 rounds. You can do this from Fajr on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah to Asr on the 13th of Dhul Hijjah. You can do it the first day, you can do it the second day, you have some flexibility. It's recommended to delay if there's going to be massive crowding. So you check the live stream and you look and you're like, if it's massively crowded over there, you know what, maybe I want to delay it till a little bit later, when the crowding goes down or nighttime or something like that. You're not going to be in ihram clothing. You're not going to uncover your shoulder. You're not going to jog the first 3 rounds. After you perform your tawaf the exact same way that you did before, you're going to go to Safa and Marwa and you're going to do sa'i between Safa and Marwa. You're going to go 7 one-ways, and at Marwa, you're fully released from ihram once you've completed this tawaf and this sa'i. Then what do? You go back to Mina. And you must be at Mina from midnight until sunrise. You have to spend the night at Mina. Some people, they're like, you know what? My tour operator got me my hotel in Mecca, and my hotel in Mecca is so much more comfortable than my tent in Mina. So I'm just going to chill out and sleep in my hotel in Mecca. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be staying at night in Mina, at minimum, midnight until sunrise. Recommended at night or a day or two later for the tawaf, there's less crowding. Again, with COVID and everything that happened, this may be outdated information. So you can decide. How can a menstruating woman do that? So the thing is, she's going to wait and delay until her period is going to be done. Some scholars, like Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, gave some leeway on this. Day 4, 11th of Dhul Hijjah. If you don't have 21 pebbles, you collect them. Now you go to the stoning markers and you're going to stone all 3 of them. So you need 21 pebbles. Between Zohar and sunset, it's allowed between sunset to Fajr as well. You're going to throw 7 at the small marker. What do? You move back, you face the Qibla, and then you make a dua. You should have done that in the first one too. And then you're going to go to the medium stoning marker, or the middle one, and then you throw your pebbles, say Allahu Akbar each time, move back, face the Qibla, make dua. Throw 7 at the large one, move back, do not make dua, and you leave. Okay? Spend the night at Mina again that night. 12th of Dhul Hijjah. You repeat what you did the previous day. You're going to leave before sunset. You have the option to stay another day. Less than 5% of people stay another day. It's not that virtuous, and if you stay a little bit, you have to stay the whole day. So most people will not do that, and it's perfectly fine to not do that. So day 6 is optional. If you do, you repeat what happened on the previous day. Then you're going to make your farewell tawaf. Farewell tawaf is known as tawaf al-wada' or tawaf al-sadr. So before you leave Mecca, you're probably going to stay in Mecca for like another week. Your Hajj is already done. You're going to stay another week, maybe another 2 weeks. Before you leave Mecca, one of the last things you do is you perform farewell tawaf. No sa'i, just tawaf. So you go, make 7 rounds of the Kaaba. What kind of clothing are you wearing? Normal clothing, exactly. It's going to be easy one. Go do your last tawaf. One of the last things you do, let's say you do that and then you check out of your hotel. So it's like the last thing in your control that you do. Try to make it one of the last things you do. Hajj is complete, make the niyyah to change your life, come back, be a different person. Some tips. If you're with the group and some people are delayed afterwards, what do? You can figure that on your own. Is it required for you to check out of your hotel? No. What should a woman do during a period? We talked about that. Is it allowed to delay tawaf until you just leave Makkah? We talked about that. If someone leaves Makkah for Medina and then plans to return soon, don't worry about that one. Mistakes and penalties. So there are mistakes that people can make. Some mistakes, if you miss Arafah and you don't even go, it'll invalidate your entire Hajj. Some mistakes, you have to offer a penalty. If you cross the miqat without having your ihram niyyah and your ihram clothing on, you have to make a penalty. Some mistakes are small and they're overlooked. So what are the penalties? The penalty is you have to sacrifice an animal in Mecca. So you're going to pay somebody else to do that, a little bit costly, but they're going to do it, and that's a penalty. It's a serious mistake if you make a serious mistake. Small mistake, another type of penalty is a charity, what's known as sadaqah. You can also pay someone to get this done for you. You're going to give 6 meals to the poor people in Mecca. So that's another way to compensate for that. So there are violations of ihram. You can intentionally violate it. You can do it out of hardship. We talked about if you do it out of hardship, you're going to do a charity, feed 6 meals to the poor. I had to put on the beanie on because I was getting a headache and I was stuck under air conditioner in a bus. You violated ihram, but you didn't. You did it for a legitimate, valid reason. Crossing the miqat, applying scent, covering your head or face, shaving, trimming your nail, cutting your nails, having intercourse, that requires a full animal sacrifice because that's very serious. Mistakes at Arafah, mistakes at Muzdalifah, mistakes at Mina, if you don't throw enough pebbles, lots of mistakes that can be made. We don't have time to get into all of these. But then, when your Hajj is done, or before, you want to visit Medina. Medina has Masjid al-Nabawi. Masjid al-Nabawi was the first masjid that was built. It's a special masjid. You get extra reward for praying there. There's lots of history in Medina. So you want to spend some time in Medina if you can. And it's very nice, much more peaceful and calm and beautiful environment and everything like that. So here's a recap. This is the standard Hajj schedule. Okay. So before Makkah, you're going to assume ihram, arrive in Makkah, you do tawaf and sa'i. 8th of Dhul Hijjah, you're going to stay at Mina. 9th of Dhul Hijjah, you stay at Arafah, you sleep in Muzdalifah. 10th of Dhul Hijjah, you're going to stone one marker, 7 pebbles, offer sacrifice, shave your head, exit your ihram partially, no intercourse. Everything else allowed, you're going to do the visitation tawaf. 11th of Dhul Hijjah, throw all 3 markers. 12th of Dhul Hijjah, throw all 3 markers. 13th of Dhul Hijjah is optional, you're probably going to leave. Before you leave Mecca, farewell tawaf. That is your Hajj. Highly recommended book for people who are going for Hajj or Umrah. I know the guy, he's pretty reliable. All right? So, open it up for questions. Inshallah ta'ala. Yes.
So, just to clarify, the covering of the shoulder, is it for the first tawaf, the 7 rounds, or the first 3 rounds?
First tawaf. Correct, yeah. So if you're good question. So if you're flying into Jeddah, but from Jeddah you're going to Medina, you're not going to Mecca, you don't need to be in ihram. You're going to assume ihram from Dhul Hulayfa or from the train before you leave. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if there's no, you ask your tour operator, but if your tour guide says you should put on your ihram before getting on the train, then you should. If they say no, there's a space in the train or something like that, I don't remember if there's new upgraded trains or whatever. So yeah, follow what your group leader says. Yeah. Do you with the right hand. Better with your right hand. So, yeah. It's when you arrive. No, that's part of your Umrah. Tawaf Qudum, yes. Yeah, so if you're going to arrive very late, if you're arriving on the night of the 8th, you probably want to do Ifrad. Okay, you're going to skip Umrah. So yeah, wearing sandals or shoes for sa'i because marble is the same, it's almost the same as wearing it in the masjid. So you're allowed to technically, but if somebody looks at you, they're like, why are you dirtying the place with your shoes on? So if it's like brand new shoes and you're like, look, I don't care what other people think. These are brand new shoes. I'm not dirtying anything. My brand new shoes that have never been opened are cleaner than most people's feet. Go ahead and wear it. So, yeah, in the back. Hajj, it's a hadith, Hajj Arafah, meaning it's the most important part. Arafah is the most important part. That's why if you miss Arafah, you missed your Hajj. What? No, that's not what the hadith means. Yeah. So there's a hadith, Prophet Al Hajj Arafah. It doesn't mean you only go to Arafah and you've done your Hajj, right? It's like At-tahuru shatrul iman. It's like, or getting married is half your faith. So you're like, you know what? I made wudu and I got married. So my whole iman is complete. I don't need to pray. MashaAllah, I did my half and a half. I'm done. Iman is complete. That's not what it means. Using a towel to wipe your face, is it considered covering your face? No, it's not covering your face. Well, per major mistake, you're gonna do a separate dump. Yes, yeah. It's not like qada, or it's not like kafara for breaking Ramadan. It's different. That's only one, but this one is one dump for each mistake if it's a major mistake. For dua, yes, I have a whole set of du'as, here in the book as well. You can make any dua, so there's nothing recommended. I recommend you get a book on dua and some good authentic books on dua. Um, Among them would be Hisnul Muslim. Among them would be The Accepted Whisper. A good English one is The Accepted Whispers by Khalid Beg, originally written by I think Maulana Ashraf Ali Tanwi. It's a very, very good book. Yes. So you shouldn't, if you're traveling with the elderly, you shouldn't skip Mina directly, but technically you can. Yeah. No, I did not do the fasting, and I don't recommend it. Most people don't recommend it. Yeah. Let's see who has not asked the question. You haven't asked the question. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, you're allowed to drink. You can drink some water. Yeah, between. It's good to drink some Zamzam water actually. Yeah, so there's Zamzam water that's going to be distributed there. It's definitely recommended to drink some. Yeah, we're just about done. We're gonna call Adhan in like a minute. I'll give you like two more minutes. Who has an urgent question? They're supposed to, yes. I'll take one last question. Go ahead. They're leaving the night before. Okay. Where are they going? Oh, they're going. Okay, yeah. So you have the choice. The best thing is to try to follow your group as long as it's a reliable religious authority with them. Try to follow your group. But if they're not and they're just trying to do shortcuts and it's easy for you to do something a little extra, do a little extra on your own. Okay? Inshallah. My email is public. It's on our website. If you have any questions, you can email me. And we have a WhatsApp group. You can ask questions in the WhatsApp group as well. And if you're at Hajj or if you're at Umrah or something, and you want to message me, inshallah, I answer questions too, so you can message me, inshallah. Yes. This is the book right here. It's on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon. Yeah. The slide, yeah, you can email me. I can give you the slides, inshallah. The slides, yeah, I can give you the slides. But the book has exactly the same order with all the other details of everything else in there. Okay? Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.